I wasn't even like allowed to stay up that late. I think the drama was on at like 10 p.m. So I would snuck down, downstairs to like watch it. And then the next day, my Korean wasn't even that good at the time. So the next day I would have all these questions and I'd be like asking my friends, like, what did his mom say? Like, what happened? Somehow we went from here to here. What, fill me in, like.
Now, Carson, you've decided to act here in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have probably asked you this question before. And being that you're American,
Mm-hmm.
you could have easily gone to America and
Mm-hmm. Why here?
attempted to break into Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Why Korea? And I'm sure you've heard this question multiple times. I'm sure you hear it more often than not when you say you're acting here in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Most people probably ask you this question.
I think because I did, kind of grow up here, and like as a teenager, I watched a lot of like K-dramas, like I remember in middle school, like when Boys Over Flowers came out, it was nuts. Like that was my first time watching a Korean drama on TV and like watching every week the episodes. And I wasn't even like allowed to stay up that late. I think the drama was on at like 10 p.m. So I would snuck down, downstairs to like watch it. And then the next day, my Korean wasn't even that good at the time. So the next day I would have all these questions and I'd be like asking my friends, like, what did his mom say? Like, what happened? Somehow we went from here to here. What, fill me in, like. And so I think growing up watching and living here, I just had this kind of like dream of being a part of that type of, show. I was like, oh my God, I just want to be in a Korean drama. Like that's where I want to, act. And I want to, I guess just growing up here, it was a part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like woved into like my dream.
Wow, that's so cool.
Now, having that as part of your childhood, and you've obviously grown up watching a lot of media from the States, from the West.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, in your experience, would you say there's a difference as a performer performing in Korean and performing in English, not including the language? Obviously, performing in the language is incredibly different, but in terms of the intricacies of whether it's body language or the performance in general, acting in general, would you say that there's much of a difference?
It's two different worlds. It's like two completely, of course, acting at the end of the day is like, the core is the same, but it is so different, especially because I've done a lot of like acting workshops. I've done a lot of coaching from coaches in LA. And then I've also been to many like Korean hagwons and I've had private teachers. And the way that they teach and like think about acting is just completely different.
Really?
Completely different. Korea tends to be very traditional and very theatrical. They tend to they stick to their 발성. You need to have clear voice. You need to say things clearly. The breath, they talk about breath all the time, getting your breath in tone with like what the scene is going through. But when I have all of my acting lessons and workshops with like people from Hollywood and LA, there's just like so much more free. They just want you to feel something. Whatever comes to you. And you need to understand like that was that feeling. And now we should feel something else. And, Koreans, they tend to be very obsessed with the script. Very obsessed with the script, very obsessed with every tiny little detail in the words. Whereas like in Hollywood and in the US, most of the times they throw the scripts away and they're like, why are you so obsessed with the script?
Get this out of my face.
Yeah, they were like, the situation, just ad lib the entire situation. I just want you to feel it. I don't want you to care about the words. I just want you to feel what you should feel in the scene. And if you read like acting books in English, like, a lot of the traditional ones that go back more to like theater, they say that, you could do one performance one night a certain way, but the next night, if your like other, cast gives you a line a different way, you need to react in that moment. And if they gave it to you differently today than they gave it to you yesterday, you got to react in the moment.
You got to improvise.
And it could go in a kind of different direction than it did the day before. But that's considered being true, I guess, and being real. Whereas like Korea they like to kind of over prepare, I think sometimes. They're more about like doing everything so specifically correct. Whereas the US is like, however it comes, it comes.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, did you like that? There's plenty more where that came from. Subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Turn on notifications so you don't miss any more content.